Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Between now and August 10th, if you use this promo code, you will automatically be entered into a drawing where 4 winners will each win one of the Commander 2018 pre-constructed decks. See the description below for more details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Huge week for the market. Our first weekend has gone by where the core set 2019 has been legal in Standard, Modern, Legacy, and guess what? It actually had an impact on all those formats. We'll be talking about that throughout the video. Also, Commander cards remain incredibly hot right now, not only because Battle Bond came out not too long ago, but also because a lot of people are excited about those Commander 2018 decks. And we're going to be seeing preview cards starting on Monday, so there's a lot of buzz right now around what we know and a lot of people going into the secondary market to pick up cards that they think will be good to complement the strategies that we know are coming. Quickly before we get started, just a fast reminder, you heard it at the beginning of the video, but we are running a promotion with Flipside Gaming. All the details are below in the description, so check it out if you want to find out how you might be able to win one of those Commander 2018 decks on August 10th. Also, you're going to find our Patreon page linked down there and also some links to products on Amazon. Those are all ways to help support us here at the channel, but as always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to all the viewers. Y'all make the channel what it is, but let's get into it. We're going to begin with the top 5 standard legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in number 5 is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, down 40 cents to 34.21. Now, Teferi still seeing a lot of play, looked very successful in this first weekend of the new meta. Still, Azorius control decks looking great. This is still a win condition that's very viable. Even Esper Control put up a good result this weekend. So, Teferi seeing play there, still seeing tons of play in Modern, Jeskai Control, other control builds. As a matter of fact, I mention this every week, but actually pushing Jace out of some of those decks, which is crazy. There's people experimenting with this card in Legacy and Vintage decks too. So why is it going down 40 cents? Well, basically because a lot of players are now getting their hands on the card. The demand is starting to be satisfied as more packs of Dominaria are opening. That's going to be a reoccurring theme in this top 5. History of Benalia, down 42 cents to 12.99. Same story as the previous card. This is seeing play, maybe not as much as Teferi, of course, but still seeing extensive play. And it's just a matter of more packs getting open, players getting their hands on this card. This looked good in the Knights deck this past weekend. It didn't get a top 8, but it put up a really nice result. Perhaps the next week or two, maybe it will get a big top 8. Also, this is still seeing play, at least in some of the control builds, maybe out of the board sometimes, but still kicking around there too. I don't think this sticks around the $13 price point. I do think it will continue to go down, but I also think it will see consistent play. Number 3 is Torrential Gearhulk, down 45 cents to 9.51. Now, of course, this card is rotating out in the fall. It's getting a little soft partially because of that. Abrade was no friend of this card either. Obviously, when that card came out, it really pushed this down a little bit. However, it's still kicking around, still seeing play. Maybe not as much in control builds, although you will find it in your occasional control builds. You will find this more in some mid-range builds, however, in Standard. Occasionally, those will be running it. So it is around still, but expect this to lose a lot of value in the coming weeks. Number 2, Gideon of the Trials, down $1.02 to 14.01. Had a pretty big loss this week. It didn't look amazing in week 1 of this new Standard. It showed up in some Knights decks like as a one of, and it was fine there. Still showing up occasionally in a control build here or there. Now, in Modern, this card is also still showing up in some control builds, so that's something to pay attention to. But remember, this is also rotating out this fall, so I would expect it to lose a lot of value again in the coming weeks. Karn Cyanivers is number 1, down $2.26 to 37.56. Wow, pretty big loss for Karn. Why is that? Well, yes, packs are being open, but also we're not seeing Karn do a whole lot in Standard right now. In the last meta, we saw him slowly kind of disappear. The mid-range decks were holding out for a little while, but even they started to drop Karn towards the end. And now you don't see him played in a lot of places other than artifact decks. Mono Blue Artifact, maybe the Izzet Artificer deck, if that can get off the ground. That is where I would expect to see Karn in the Standard meta this time around. If those decks don't do well enough, though, Karn potentially could lose a lot more value. Now, outside of Standard, he's still performing well in Affinity and Modern, looks good there, even more so in the last few weeks. Also in Legacy, Mono Red Prison seems decent there too. Again, even surging in the previous couple weeks. So I do feel like this card does have some long-term potential to watch for, but at least right now it feels a little cold, and we'll have to see what happens with it in Standard post-rotation. It will probably surge once we get a leaner set of cards to play with, but by that time a lot of packs will be open and there'll be a lot of quantity out there too. Okay, let's look at the top 5 Standard legal cards that have gained value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Itali Primal Storm, up 27 cents to 367. This is mostly driven by Commander. Really awesome Commander card. People have tried to play with it in Standard a little bit. Never really took off, but time will tell if that changes again, maybe post-rotation or something. But at least for right now, Commander players love this card. And this was mentioned in the Command Zone podcast about a week ago, and sometimes that alone can help surge the value of a card. Number 4, Vraska's Contempt, up 37 cents to 14.13. Kind of a no-brainer here. If you're playing black in today's standards, you're probably running some copies of this card. It is a powerhouse in this current environment. The exile effect, very relevant. Target creature or planeswalker, again, super relevant. Even the life gain sometimes can be relevant now with life gain decks out there. So Vraska's Contempt is not necessarily going to spike, but I do think it will at least hold stable, maybe go up a few more cents here or there. You got to remember that Standard players, they all have their copies of this card from the last couple seasons, so you're not going to see a big scramble. This card isn't surprising anybody, but it is going to be a quality card for quite some time. Again, another card that probably just gets better after rotation because we lose some other forms of removal. Number 3, the Scarab God, back again, up 38 cents to $19. And we saw this starting to surge at the end of the last meta, and that's continuing into this new one. You're seeing a lot of Grixis mid-range decks doing pretty well, a little bit of Grixis control here and there, but also too, even Grixis Dragons running this. I even saw a mono red deck splashing blue and black to run Nicol Bolas in this. So there are a lot of decks right now looking at the Scarab God, and I do think it's going to have a very successful season. However, it is rotating out this fall. It doesn't have huge prospects outside of Standard. Sometimes people try it here or there. But other than Commander, where it is very popular, you're not going to see a ton of play, I don't think, after the fall. So this card will drop a lot. As a matter of fact, it will probably start dropping within the next few weeks, even if it does have a successful Standard season, as people start to liquidate the copies they've been hanging on to. Number 2, Crested Sunmare, up 44 cents to $4.99. Now we know casually this is a pretty exciting card, as people saw there's new horses, of course, in Core Set 2019. They're trying to build some decks that exploit that a little bit. However, this is actually seeing some Standard play too in mono-white or black-white life gain builds. Now we want to see one of those put up a good result at a big tournament. That didn't really happen this past weekend, but it could very well happen maybe week 2, week 3, so this is one to keep an eye on. Ghalta Primal Hunger at number 1 at 44 cents to 9.04. Now again, another card that is a popular Commander card, but this price is being driven, I think, more so by Standard this week. The Star City Games Classic this past weekend, Mono Green Stompy came in first. Guess what card was in that deck? Yep, you guessed it, Ghalta was there. So between that deck as well as some of the Sarkhan's Unsealing decks, which again need to put up a good result, but I wouldn't be surprised to see one of those top 8 in week 2 or week 3. So Ghalta is another card you want to keep an eye on. Alright, let's move on to our top 5 modern legal cards that have lost value this week. Number 5, Narcana Revenant. This is the Rise of the Eldrazi version, down $1.28 to $17.31. Great Commander card in Vampire decks, however it is losing value because this was reprinted in Battle Bond recently, so the card's a little bit soft right now. Number 4, Dark Confidant. This is the Modern Masters version, down $1.41 to $70.82. Now, we saw the original one dropping a lot over the last few weeks, so it stands to reason the reprints will get a little bit softer too, and that's what we're seeing here. Now, like I mentioned in the previous weeks, Humans decks running this less and less all the time, sometimes not at all at this point. Also, Jund is kind of hit or miss. It puts up a good result here or there, but it isn't as consistent as some of the other decks right now in the format. So put those two reasons together, this card has been very soft. Still seeing enough play in Modern and Legacy to hold value, don't get me wrong, but I could see this dropping maybe another $5 in the coming weeks. Number 3, Jace the Mind Sculptor. 2 versions here. Masters 25 down $1.67 to $85.05, with World Weight going down $1.70 to $102.43. So we've been seeing this happen for a while now. Jace was so hyped when this card was unbanned in Modern that it just went through the roof. And of course we knew it couldn't hold that kind of value. So over time it's been going down. Now the other thing though, more recently, which has hurt the value, is the fact that Teferi has moved in on Jace's territory a little bit in Modern, as you see more of these Jeskai and even some of the other control decks running Teferi instead of Jace, or some Teferis and some Jaces. So because of that, this card has been pretty soft recently. Now, much like Dark Confidant, don't get it twisted, this card isn't going to bottom out or anything like that, but it will lose some more value before all is said and done. Number 2, Tarmogoyf. A lot of big hitters on here today. This is the Modern Masters version, down $2.02 to $77.46. Another card that maybe is hurt a little bit by John's inconsistency, but it is seeing play in a lot of other places in Modern and Legacy, so I wouldn't expect this card to lose a ton of value or anything like that, but again, at least this version is going down a little bit this week. Number 1, Crucible of Worlds from 5th Dawn down 206 to 45.96, so this continues to be soft thanks to that reprint in Core Set 2019. Alright, let's move on to the top 5 Modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Liliana of the Veil, another big card in Modern, up 312 to 107.99. Now this is the Innistrad version, and this card just continues to be hot. Yes, it could suffer maybe a little bit from the John's inconsistencies, but it doesn't really matter for this card because it's very successful in decks like Mardu Pyromancer and many, many others, and not just in Modern, also Legacy. So this card continues to climb up, actually getting close to the 110 mark, which is pretty crazy. I do think this card stabilizes between 105 and 110, at least until it gets another reprint. Number 4, Mausoleum Wanderer, up 371 to 499. This card has a pretty big week financially. This is all about Band Spirits in Modern. Simply, that deck looked great this past weekend at the Star City Games Open. The team that came in 4th was running this as their Modern deck, and this card especially stood out. Now, the reason this deck is getting a push is because of a card from Core Set 2019. Of course, that's Supreme Phantom. We talked about that one on our Wednesday special Market Watch where we talked all about Core Set 2019. I'll link that at the end of this video in case you want to hear my thoughts on that card and other Core Set cards. But for today, this card is the hot one. Not only did it look great in that deck at the Star City Games Open, but also Saffron Olive featured a version of that deck on MTG Goldfish this past week, and that's always going to bring more attention to a deck or to individual cards as well. Now, the reason this one is spiking maybe over some other ones, though, is because this is a rare from Eldritch Moon, and that set was actually opened a lot less than other contemporary sets. Number 3, Engineered Explosives from Modern Masters, up 490 this week to 89.98. This is on our list like every week, but this has become a key sideboard card in Modern and a main deck card in the Ironworks combo decks. Number 2, Seachrome Coast, up 509 to 15.99. This was probably long overdue. This card shows up in a lot of various mana bases. However, what's pushing it this week is that Bant Spirits deck. Number 1, Mishin the Mind Cage, up 7.99 to 9.97. Huge week again financially. A lot of big cards this week in Modern, but this one I think is being driven more so because of Commander. There's actually a few factors here. The first one, though, is the Arcades Commander Defender Wall decks. This fits really well in there. Also, some people might be looking at this for the Bant Enchantment deck, which is going to be one of the Commander 2018 decks that comes out on August 10th, even though we don't know anything about it other than that yet. A lot of folks are picking up some of the older cards that might play well into that kind of theme and are in Bant colors. Another thing, too, to consider, sometimes you see this show up in some Blue Tron decks as well. So there's a variety of different players that might be interested in this card, but I do think it's Arcades that's pushing it this week. All right, let's move into our Vintage Spotlight. There's actually a couple Legacy playable cards on our list this week and a few buyouts. First, we have Arcane Artisan up $11.98 to $18. Huge spike for this card because it looked really good this past weekend at the Star City Games events in the Show and Tell deck. In fact, a very successful deck was running 3 of these out of the sideboard. That got a lot of attention on this card quickly. Next is Council's Judgment up $12.09 to $23.98. This has always been a strong Legacy card in decks like Stoneblade over the years, also Miracles, but what's pushing it this week is Death and Taxes. Because of the bannings that occurred a couple weeks back, Death and Taxes just looks like a stronger deck. It's also one of the more affordable decks to buy into if you're trying to get into Legacy and still be competitive. So because of that, a lot of eyes are on this card right now. Next, we have Earthquake from Unlimited. Now, of course, Unlimited cards have been very hot recently. A lot of buyouts going on. This one goes up $48.15 this week to $103.25. This is not a reserve list card, though. It's been reprinted many times. In the Eye of Chaos, however, is a reserve list card from Legends, up $90.25 to $220. This has been the target of a buyout before. It looks like another buyout, a very popular reserve list card that is from an old set that's getting harder to find. And same thing going on here. Here's another reserve list card. It's Guardian Beast from Arabian Nights. Looks like another buyout of $388.24 to $739.50. So I would expect this price to roll back a little bit in the coming weeks. However, this is a very playable card in a lot of formats. It's been undervalued for a long time, and it's getting harder and harder to find in good condition. All right, let's move on to our Commander Spotlight. Now, we have a lot of cards to talk about. Commander is extremely hot right now, so I'm going to do kind of a speed round here. I'm going to show you the card, tell you the price, let you know the main driver. Endless Horizons up $1.02 to $9.16. Now, this is from Eventide, Shadowmoor, Lorwyn, Morningtide cards. They tend to get a little spiky sometimes because their print runs were a little bit lower. That's probably what's going on here. But this is a card that's seen a lot of Commander play over the years. There's some combos you can do by taking all the lands out of your deck and such. Also, it is a white enchantment, so maybe some people are thinking about strategies with the Bant enchantment deck that's coming up in August. Perimeter Captain up $1.28 to $2, and oh, you guessed it, it's a defender, so this is going to play well with Arcades. Greater Oromancy up $1.43 to $34.50. Now, this has seen Modern play in the past, but not as much anymore. It's about that Commander 2018 Bant enchantment deck that's coming. A lot of people looking for cards to pick up early that might spike a lot more later. You gotta wonder, though, are these people picking these cards up because they want to play that deck, or are there people picking these cards up because they want to sell these cards to people that buy that deck this August? That's the big question. I'm sure there'll be some big spikes before the summer's over with some of these cards. Again, this one, keep an eye on because it is a Shadowmoor card too. Polluted Bonds up $1.70 to $10.35. This was featured a week ago in the Command Zones podcast where they talked about underrated cards from Commander. This one, though, still hot even a week later, and you guessed it, most likely because it's a Shadowmoor rare. Reese the Redeemed. Wow, another Shadowmoor rare, up $2.61 to $30.46. This is just a fantastic Commander card. It's good in Tokens decks, good in Elf decks, good in Warrior decks if you're trying to build an Agila deck. Just a lot you can do with this card. Femaref Enchantress up $6.68 to $24.50, second week on our list. This is a reserve list card from Visions and another card that's going to play well in that Bant enchantment deck. Since this one is also on the reserve list, you know it's not going to be reprinted in that deck. Halfdane. This one's probably more of a buyout, or at least the marketplace drying up a little bit more than anything. It's up $7.38 this week to $35.99. This is a gold reserve list card from Legends, which those have been pretty hot recently. This does see some Commander play, so I just tossed it on this list. Meekstone from Unlimited up $13.55 to $43.74. And you might look at this and say, this feels like it belonged on the Vintage Spotlight list, an old Unlimited card going up. Yes, but this isn't just market manipulation. This is because of that Arcades deck. All those Defender creatures have low power, so the idea here is you get to untap your creatures, attack in for the value of their toughness, and your opponent hopefully can't untap a whole lot of their things. So it fits perfectly in that deck. Not only is this version of the card going up, but check this out. Revised up $5.63 to $9.94. 5th edition up $5.79 to $9.89. 6th edition up $5.81 to $9.99. 7th edition up $10.08 to $13.98. Also important to point out, the alpha version was going up a little bit too. I didn't add that here because those are really hard to track. There's not a lot of data on alpha beta cards, but that one's also increasing. 4th edition was going up, not as much as some of the others. You can still get that one for closer to $7, $8. So if you're looking to pick up a copy, maybe go for the 4th edition this week. Wall of Kelp. This is getting really hot. This is a reserve list card, of course, from Homelands. Yeah, Homelands card getting hot. Up $13.71 to $24.49. We've talked about this one before. Of course, this makes sense in that Arcades deck where you can actually create wall tokens with Defender. Ragnar. Now, this is a reserve list Legends card that has been really undervalued for a while. Up $16.50 this week to $50.95. Again, it sees a little Commander play, so I tossed it on here. But really, all of these gold Legends from that set have been really, really hot. I'm a little surprised this hasn't spiked yet. Sarah's Sanctum. We talked about this one last week too. Up $22.57 to $154.26. Again, for the enchantments deck, but this has been a hot card in the past, and this is now pushing it even further. I should mention that last card is on the reserve list, and so is this one. Replenish, again for that enchantments deck, up $23.29 to $80. So at least just hearing the concepts, guess which one's the most popular out of the four. Now, we are going to get preview cards starting on Monday for the next week, so we'll get to learn more about these decks. Maybe that will shift some things in the coming weeks for the market watch, but definitely watch for a lot of incoming spikes. We'll wrap things up with a quick Pauper Spotlight. Just one card I wanted to talk about, and it's a crossover card. Yes, this does see Pauper play, but maybe this is moving more so now because of the Arcades deck. Sunscape Familiar up 78 cents to $3.50. All right, with that being said, that's the Market Watch for this week. Like I said, starting on Monday, we'll be covering all those preview cards that will be coming out for Commander 2018, so stay tuned. Next Saturday's Market Watch, I'm sure, is going to have some big impacts from those reveals. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.